JRPGs You Might Have Missed is a series where I highlight a brilliant game that may have escaped your notice. If you have any suggestions for games you'd like to see featured in this series, be sure to leave a comment below. But today we're going to be talking about World of Final Fantasy. So why am I talking about World of Final Fantasy? It's a pretty recent release and this is supposed to be games you might have missed, right? Well, yeah, and I think that's why World of Final Fantasy fits here perfectly. It came out in the lead up to Final Fantasy 15, so all the marketing from Square Enix was for Final Fantasy 15, not for this, and I think it would be a real shame if this game goes forgotten, because it's a damn good game. It was my game of the year 2016. If there are any Final Fantasy or JRPG fans out there that were disappointed by Final Fantasy 15, then I urge you to pick up World of Final Fantasy. For me, at least, it felt like a proper Final Fantasy entry. And no, not just because it uses a turn-based combat system. It felt like a real Final Fantasy because of its story, its world, its characters, its charm, and its amazingly fun and addictive gameplay mechanics. You might think that World of Final Fantasy is going to be nothing but fan service, but nothing could be further from the truth. It weaves its own excellent narrative, and while there are tons of returning characters from previous Final Fantasy games, their tales are told differently. The lore behind the world and why they are here is superb. I never once thought that a character was included purely for fan service, because every character fit perfectly into the story and had a reason to be there. The voice acting is incredible too. You'll find every character is voiced by their original voiceover artist. Almost all of the voice cast from previous entries made a return to voice their returning characters in World of Final Fantasy, and it's wonderful for long-time fans of the series. The thing that really sets this game off though is the gameplay. I really cannot stress to you enough how fun this game is to play. Combat is like a modified ATB system, but it's based around a brand new stacking mechanic. The stacking mechanic that was only partially shown off in trailers is maybe part of the reason people were put off, because it's not easy to understand without actually playing the game. The stacking mechanic involves mirages. Mirages are basically like Pokemon or demons from Shin Megami Tensei. You capture them and you use them on your team. The capture mechanics are different from both of those franchises though, and it's a pretty fun mechanic in and of itself. Tracking down mirages and finding out how to capture them is all part of the fun. Mirages all have a size category. There are small, medium and large mirages, and the main playable characters both have a medium form and a large form, which you can switch between outside of battle with the press of a shoulder button. What this means is there are 4 stacks you need to create. Mirages can be stacked on top of you, and on top of each other based on their sizes. So in your large form you can place a medium mirage on your head, and then a small one on top of that. When you're in medium form, you can ride on top of a large mirage and put a small mirage on your head. This itself is incredibly charming. Being able to ride a Malboro with a magic pot on your head may sound silly, but you have no idea how satisfying it is. It all sounds straightforward enough, but making stacks is strategic. Each mirage has its own skill board where it can get stat boosts or learn spells and abilities, and if you stack mirages that have the same spells or abilities, they can transform into more powerful versions. There are also stat stacking mechanics and another stat you have to manage, which is stack strength. In battle, your stack can be toppled, which separates the stack into individuals and stuns everyone. So having a weak stack may provide more attack power in some cases, but you'll have to be mindful of your stability in combat. You can, of course, also topple enemies. In battle, you also have the opportunity to separate the stack by choice. This gives each piece of the stack its own separate turn, but they don't have any of the benefits of being in the stack anymore, so they revert to base stats and abilities. This can be used effectively though. If you have a stack made up of strong healing mirages, you can separate and get a large amount of healing in very quickly, and you can stack right back up again. Everything I've just said is just scratching the surface of what the gameplay has to offer. It's incredibly deep and incredibly fun. I honestly spent hours and hours of my playtime just making stacks. Mirages can be evolved and devolved as well. They often change size category when they change form, which just gives you so many options when you start amassing a lot of mirages. And not only that, there is actually other size categories of mirages I haven't mentioned yet, which are used in a completely different way. Now this has probably been the longest games you missed episode I've ever done, but hopefully that just shows you how passionate I am about this game. This was Hiroki Chiba's first shot at directing a title at Square Enix, and based on this alone, he has a very bright future, because what he created here is an absolute masterpiece. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to leave your suggestions in the comments section. Subscribe to see more of me and everything I do, and if you enjoy my channel, you could consider supporting my channel on Patreon, or using the Amazon links in the description when making purchases. Your support means everything to me. Other than that, I'll see you all soon.